Hello everyone, welcome to Ask a Puppy Trainer Show. I am Bethany, this little butt right here. This is Whiskey. How cute is he? Well, happy Halloween month, and this is episode number 170, right? Yes, of Ask a Puppy Trainer Show. You've got just me today, and I'm going to be answering as many questions as I can. Please just put them in the comments below. It would be great if you would add age and breed. That gives me a really good idea of, just how to answer your questions, because it really does depend. And if you're on here, I can ask follow-ups, which is always really good. Oh my goodness, you're starting to bite, but you're so cute. Look at this face. Look at this little terrier face. Do you know what mix he is? Or, yeah, I don't know. Terrier, a little scruffy dog. I love him so much. Okay. All right, I am going to go ahead and dive into a follow-up question that we got to a video, and it's puppy crating, basically. And she really struggled with her dachshund at night. I'm telling you, dachshunds, their separation anxiety issues, we have seen it go through the roof in the last few years. Like, it's starting to become a breed trait. Like, have you ever heard that Malteses can get separation anxiety really easily, things like that? We're starting to see that with dachshunds. Just keep that in mind. So this woman says she's done all the things. She's watched our content and she's done all the things that we suggested. She's tried having the dog in a different room at night in crate, as well as her own room. Doesn't change anything, okay? Now, the dog goes in there for naps. The puppy goes in there for naps during the day, no problem. But at night, he is barking his head off, and it seems like he doesn't stop, according to Dibby93. Okay. I feed him in his crate, I do crate training, get his energy out, he's exhausted, but as soon as he goes in the crate at night, he goes nuts. I feel bad for him. I don't know what to do. So I wish I had you on here because I have a lot more questions. I want to know if you move the crate out of the room, if that's where he's having his naps during the day and he's fine and he won't go in there in the evening knowing that it's time for bed, or if the crate's in your room. Are those naps that he's doing good in that room? Like, you're not switching it up at night. Now, here's a side note. If your dog is with you at night, because they're social creatures, I'm totally fine with your dog being in crate in the same room as you at night. But if they're struggling and you want to move them into the laundry room or something like that, as long as they're not physically hurting themselves, have you tried just putting them in there and just waiting and seeing how long it takes for them to tire themselves out a little bit and relax? Now, I speak from experience. I had a dog that never relaxed. She could go 5-6 hours, she'd sleep for 30 minutes, then she'd bark another 5-6 hours. So I don't want that. And it kind of sounds like that might be the case here. But I just want to mention that for many of you, a lot of times, as long as the dogs are just wanting attention, like that's all it is, they will tire themselves out 20, 30, 40 minutes, and they'll go to sleep, and they'll learn that, like, by doing that, they learn to sleep in their crate, right? By just barking and then sleeping, and they're like, oh, I can sleep in my crate at night. This is no big deal. That's something that I just kind of want to clarify, because I can't ask you questions and I don't know for sure what you're doing. And you put them in another room, so you just, yeah, I saw that. Is it possible the crate just isn't for my dog? It's possible, is it possible for your dog to do that where you don't have to hear them, okay? Where you can just go to sleep and you don't have to hear them. If that's not a possibility, then yeah, there's a few other things you could try. I'm gonna be honest, me personally, crate training for dogs is super important to me for a number of reasons. And 2 out of 4 of my dogs are not crated anymore. And so I've made those decisions, depending on the situation. But for me, I need them to be able to be crated through their whole lives for a whole number of reasons. But if I was struggling as much as you, there's definitely some little tweaks that I might make. I might try an X-Pen, or I might get a baby gate and block off like the laundry room, which maybe is just like a little walkway. I might try some of these things at night to see if that's the issue. But I'm gonna be honest, a lot of times the dog might be quiet for the first few nights, the puppy might, and then they just start barking again. Like their new area becomes their new crate. basically. And so that's something that you can try, but just be prepared for that to be the situation. For me personally, I would make sure that it's tricky if he's taking naps in there during the day, but I would make sure that for 3 days, this dog, I don't know if we've already mentioned this to you, but this dog never naps outside of the crate. And so usually what happens is he gets tired enough, not because you've exercised him to death, because you could just be building a little athlete, that he gets tired enough, by the 3rd day that he sleeps in there at night. And then he starts to learn that he can sleep in crate without any issues. That would be the other thing if we were face to face that I would suggest, is that he's not sleeping on the couch with you. He's not like napping, snuggling in his dog bed, nothing. Like commit to 3 days and see if at the end of the 3 days, he will sleep in crate at night. And so it's like, even if you see him, like he falls asleep, it's like, wake him up, take him for a potty and put him in crate. And so he's basically spending a lot more time in crate because he's not going to be out resting at all with the family. So little side note, if you haven't tried that, try that and see where that gets you. Okay, I want to answer we don't have any on TikTok. I'm going to answer some Instagram questions. Let me look at this real quick. Oh, please share your top tips for preventing littermate syndrome. 4-month-old golden mountain doodle brother and sister. You're so good. I just want to adopt this dog. Like, do they want, oh, as he just bites me. Like, do they really want this dog? I mean, does Whiskey's owners really want this dog? Yes, I love you. I'm going to put you up though, because I need to talk with my hands. Yes, I am. Okay, here you go. I love him so much. Okay, top tips for preventing littermate syndrome. I don't want to sound negative. I really don't, but I'm just going to be real. I'm a bit of a realist, and I'm pretty sure Sparky's a pessimist, so we're sorry. We don't have a lot of positivity for you here on the show. My personal opinion is that you can't prevent it because they are littermates, and even if you keep them separate all the time, it's very, very hard. It takes a lot of work, and I would say even quite a bit of reprimanding once they, get to the age, and really teaching a valuable no. Advanced training, like it takes advanced training to have like 2 littermates playing together in the yard and being able to recall them off of each other. And so for me, and the reason I give that example is because that filters into being able to walk them together, and they don't feed off of each other. When they see dogs and people, they care about you first, not each other's energy. I mean, that's hard to do with just 2 dogs in general, close in age. So my point is I just always discourage, people from doing this. I'm shocked that breeders even still do it, I'll be honest, because in the breeder world, it's known that that's just not a good idea. So I'm always surprised when that happens. But you're in the zone. So I'm not trying to pick on you, but you're in the zone. So my top tips would be to keep them separate as much as possible. We actually do the same thing with dogs and puppies, kids and puppies, because we don't want them to feed off of each other all day long, and then they just become really excitable animals, adult dogs, because they're feeding off of each other's energy all day long. So they're crated separately, separate rooms even, or at least a bed in between the crates. You're working them separately. You've got one dog out the first half of the day working with them and applying that structure, and then you're switching. That's how it works. I'm going to give you this example. That's my top tip, but this is the why. So I worked with a dog that was also working with a service dog trainer while I was doing off-leash training and behavior. And so it was really cool. I've only got to do that once, and it was for 2 young autistic children. And so the stakes were pretty high that this needed to work out. And I was so surprised. I think this puppy was around 6, 7, 8, 9 months. I was so surprised that the service dog trainer told the family and me, we were looking at our schedules and comparing our schedules, that this dog should only be out for short periods of time during the day with the kids. And I was like, that's awesome. That's what I suggest from a behavioral standpoint. But why, from a service dog standpoint, it's going to be the service dog of those children. It's like, because we need this puppy, because it's still a puppy, to be a calm, energy and intuitive. And a dog can't be intuitive unless they're calm. And if they're around the kids all day long, they're just going to be like the kid energy. And they're just going to be like this, and oh, sit, and oh, come, and then getting out of place. And it's just going to be this jittery, erratic energy. And so the dog needs to practice a lot of calm and be around a lot of adults who are calm and controlled. And then as the dog matures, they will get more time around the children, but it's in stages. You're looking at the same thing with the littermates, okay? They can have controlled play, several times a day, but what you're really going for is them to see you as number one and then spend calm time around each other. So what I would personally do is not only would I work them separately, but I would also have a crate in my living room area, and one puppy would be in crate while I work the other puppy, probably more calmly than usual. I'd be much more like sit, come, like I would have a calmer energy so I don't get everybody excited. And I would work them around each other until they could both be in place, which is around 5-6 months old. One dog in place, back tied, while you work the other dog at a distance if you have room in your home. And so anyway, those are some of the things that I would work on. Obviously, being someone who does not nurture affection when the dog asks for it is really going to be the biggest part of this. If you're a person who every time your dog comes up to you, you're petting them rather than sometimes being like, no, not right now, so they can just turn around and go and be calm and lay down. If you're very permissive and you cultivate that relationship of lots of nurturing, especially when they're young, it will always be a battle for you no matter how great your training is. So I want to make sure I include that piece of the puzzle too, okay? Earned affection only on your terms, not your dog's terms. I know that sounds harsh, but I got to move on. I can't unpack that fully. But
say briefly, like if they don't do things, like what happens with littermate syndrome?
Oh, that's a good point. So my boss wants me to say, if you don't do those things, what can happen really with littermate syndrome? Absolute chaos. I mean, just they constantly care about each other. They never listen to you. They live in excitement all the time, even when they wait for food bowls, they're feeding off of each other's energy. You might get control through obedience, but you don't get like a calm, relaxed, happy dog. You get a dog that constantly needs to be held back from the world. Won't be able to be walked together. One dog jumps up on someone, now the other dog is doing it, and it's just chaos. One dog might bark from excitement, and then the other one's a little nervous. Now you have a nervous, reactive dog. So they're just constantly feeding off of each other. And then the problem is because you weren't the number one person in their lives, they were each other's number one person, and they're the same species. It's really hard to influence their behavior. It's really hard to teach them what alternatives to do in life because they're going to choose each other over you. That's why working them separately in the beginning, and honestly, dogs always need a little one-on-one time, but working them separately really diligently for many months and even keeping them separate some during the day is really crucial to just being able to have a household where you can handle them. So thank you for that. Okay, let's see. I have another miniature dachshund. 5 months old, barks a lot at people. What can I do? Well, I want you to think about a few things. I want you to think about your dog, your little 5-month-old, and the pressure cooker. So he sees a person down the street, and you keep trying to control him, maybe trying to give him food or trying to get him to sit or whatever the case is. But yet the person is still coming towards you and you're still going to the person. And so it's this pressure cooker that gets bigger and bigger. And any leash pressure on the leash creates more of a kind of attitude. And so we need loose leash work, and you might need to give the leash like a little pop, get his attention. But we need loose leash work, and we needed, for a 5-month-old, a dog that is very food motivated. I'm not saying that he will take food when he sees a person, but he needs to be a dog that can go out into the front of your home, turn, stop, sit, food, down, food, stay. 5-month-old can be doing stay out in front of your house, no problem. Place, you can even work on place in your driveway. Doing loose leash turns. So that way, when a neighbor pulls up and just gets out of their car and they hear that car door slam and they go, they kind of hold their breath for a second and usually close their mouths like they're panting and they're like doing their obedience, then they hear that noise and they go, puppy, let's go. And you can redirect them at a distance. Those are the steps that you want to be working on to improve your dog's relationship with their environment through leadership, through you controlling the environment and helping them know what to do, know how to cope. Not through affection, socialization, having pressure put on them. And pressure could just mean eye contact. You might go to the park and he's doing so good in like 3 months, but then someone looks at him because he's so cute. He feels pressure, he backs away. You better bubble out and around. You better do a turn if you see that from your dog. Like they need distance. They need to be able to breathe. Our society puts a lot of pressure on dogs to be social, and it's not natural, and it causes reactivity a lot of times, especially small dogs. Because what does everybody do to a small dog? They bend over, right? This is it. And then they're like, whoa. And then they get a little feisty and they start barking. They're like, stay out of my space, please. Stay out of my space. At home, it's a little different. If it's happening in your house, you need to teach a really good place command. You need to take your time answering the door. Make sure the dog is nice and settled with you. For a 5-month-old, it'd have to be with you or in crate. But then you're going to teach place. So when people come in, just ignore my dog. No touch, no talk, no eye contact. Come on in. And then you're going to put your dog in place, a little bit of food work, get them to relax for the first 5 to 10 minutes that your guest is just hanging out. Then for a 5-month-old, I would put them in crate and then enjoy your guest. Maybe bring them out again, work them again around a new person, but there's no like touching. And then if your dog wants to sniff them, this is a tricky one. If your dog wants to sniff them, let your dog sniff them without the social pressure of being pet. Because if your dog is comfortable enough to not be barking, focus on you, and be able to go to place, then they might feel braver and want a little, especially a feisty little dachshund, and want to be curious and sniff someone. But then the moment that person leans down to touch and invade their space, they break all trust in humans all over again, because humans don't act appropriately. They don't act like another dog would, like the way they're supposed to. And so they start to bark. And so make sure that if you do allow any engagement, like you tell your dog break or go say hi, whatever release word that you want, that the dog is headed over there, the puppy's headed over there, they can sniff, 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 a few seconds. And then if the dog stiffens, then you want to redirect them back to place. And if the dog is doing good, you could just drop the leash and have your guest totally ignore, but it has to be a guest that you trust. That's the key. There are some people that are so uncomfortable, don't know how to be with dogs, don't know how to take instruction, all kinds of, the whole list is long. And I had a friend of mine who was like this with a little dog that I had that was very nervous of people. She was great if you ignored her. She would actually even jump up and could get affection, but not if you put pressure on her. Could be a little what you're dealing with. And as soon as someone did that, she would bark and back up. And then she would kind of get like a nervous bark, and it would look cute, but it was a nervous bark trying to control the environment. Everybody could listen to me except this one person, and so I just had to crate her when she came over because she just couldn't help herself to like look and stare and then be like, oh, hi, and Happy would just lose it. And it was breaking trust in humans for my dog because she was so nervous and sensitive and reactive. And so I just had to crate her, and it probably took, I'll be honest, it took about a year to get her into a really good, confident place of like, oh, I just look to mom and she'll tell me everything I need to do. You know what I mean? And so it's really more about you and your relationship with your dog than the dog itself. Is there a way to work on socialization? Of course there is. But you don't want to kind of break that fourth wall like in theater. You don't want to go out into the audience until the dog is ready. And if your dog is barking at the end of a lead or every time someone comes in the house, then you're not ready to push actual socialization, actual physical interaction of any kind. You need to get control and trust and impulse control first. And so that's what I would focus on if I was you. Okay, moving on. 1-year-old Doodle hates to be brushed. How do I fix this? I hate the word fix, and sorry to nitpick here, but we really try not to use it in the dog world, just because, especially your dog is already 1 and there's a real issue with something. It's not about fix. It's about desensitizing. It's about building trust. And you could do that, but then if your husband or a friend or a groomer came in, your dog might not let them do it. Sometimes it does not transfer to other people. So that's why the term fix doesn't work. But what you can do is work on your relationship with your dog and go really slow. I don't have a breed. Oh, doodle. Yes, I do. I have doodle. So a lot of times with doodles, the slicker brush is used, and it is so uncomfortable, guys. Like, doodles don't have down. They don't have thickness like, say, a husky or even a German Shepherd. My German Shepherd doesn't love the slicker brush either. But my point is, those slicker brushes that are so good for that fur, you're not supposed to go down to the skin. And I made this mistake with my little dog, Happy. She's a Maltese mix, didn't have a lot of down in her fur. And I made this mistake with her too, and she hated grooming, and we were always working on it. I had to always go nice and slow. Her whole long life of 17 years, I had to go so slow every time grooming her, because in the beginning stages, I didn't go slow, you know, and she just, you get your skin tighten every time that brush, you know, goes against their skin, or a comb or anything like that. So your goal, first of all, is to not touch their skin. And so you're just fluffing the fur itself. And depending on how long that fur is, you're going to just do the ends. And if you hit a mat, do not try to comb through that mat with a dog that's struggling. Avoid that spot, come back to it later, just cut the mat out. He just might not be super attractive for a while. And so you're working on building this up, and go slow. And I want you to have a food pouch on you that he can see, so he knows there's food, and it's filled with like his favorite thing, maybe tiny little pieces of turkey dog, or tiny little pieces of jerky, or liver, something. Freeze-dried liver. And so you break off tiny pieces, and you just have the brush sitting there. Make sure your dog knows how to lay down or place calmly. Otherwise, that's what you need to be working on first. And then you're going to just do a really simple, good food pause. Good food pause. Like 5 to 10 times. What you're doing is you're loading your marker word. You're loading good. Then you're going to pick up the brush. Good food. Then you're going to do one little swipe. Good food. Now this is not like a full brushing. Like, if your dog really needs to be groomed, you're going to have to sedate that dog, take him to the vet, and let them shave him down while you work on this for the next 2 months so he can be ready for a proper grooming. I only say that because doodles and poodles, their hair gets so matted, and it's just really rough on them. It's really unfair on them. So if that's the situation, that's what you got to do while you're working on the grooming. That's fine. But anyway, you're going to just go nice and slow and desensitize. Desensitize, picking up a leg. Comb. Good. Put it down. Piece of food. You're going very slow. I would back tie this dog, and would potentially have a slip leash on the dog as well. But make sure you have a really good place command or downstay. That's crucial for this, so you can sit down, be relaxed with something that the dog already knows. And you have to work, for this kind of stuff, you want to work under the dog's threshold. So if the dog loses it, you need to calm the dog down with the leash, like pressure, calm down, take a breath, give the dog a break, come back. In order to really work on something like this, if it's really bad, you're looking at 3 to 5 minutes, 3 times a day for a month. Like, this has got to be a big part of your training if it's really bad. And that's why, like, something like a board and train, people will often do board and trains for grooming, because of the amount of work it takes to desensitize this. It can't be just done like once or twice a week when your dog actually needs to be brushed, because this is not about brushing. It's about working on the issues with the brush and with being groomed, right? Now, if 1-year-old dog, if you get some feistiness, like maybe you lift the brush up, he's doing good, but he kind of bites at the brush, that's where the slip leash comes in. You would do a little bit of pressure. Hey, knock it off. And the dog is in a down, like you're not lifting him up, but you are doing some pressure. Hey, knock it off. Pause. The pause is so important. Don't keep going. Relax. Then keep going. Like, there needs to be a lot of breaks, a lot of breathing, a lot of pauses. Okay, I got to move on. All right. Tura Ventola says, thank you very much. That was helpful. I'm glad. When will the puppy nipping stop? Stephanie Goldman. It doesn't really stop. I mean, it depends on the breed. If you have a retriever, they will continue to bite you, bite the leash, bite clothes. a lot of dogs are prone to that. Malinois, German Shepherds, Retrievers. So we get a lot of those breeds that are very bitey their whole lives if it's not worked on, because it's part of their genetics. Australian Shepherds, Border Collies, sometimes they'll be like that too.
Where can they work on it, Bethany?
Yeah, so what I would say is, I don't know how it's set up now. Can they see the master class?
They can get it.
Where can they get it?
Oh, no, if they're part of the online school.
Oh, so they have to be part of the online school. Okay, so we don't have the master class available anymore. Okay, so we did like a webinar, master class, I don't know what you want to call it. It's fancy online terminology for I don't know, Instagram. So we had this class that we did that people were able to come and join and ask questions and see. Now we have, and it's just on nipping, and then we do another hour and a half on different scenarios of nipping and biting. So that's 2.5 hours of content on nipping and biting as part of our online school. That's not even the online school. It's not even the classes. It's literally 2.5 hours devoted to that issue because it's such a big issue. I would definitely need more specifics. Like, when are they biting? Aussie Mountain Doodle. That's like just a bunch of dogs put together. Okay, so it's a mutt, basically. And so you never know what they're pulling from. They're just, as far as breed goes. But I had a Maltese mix that would herd birds, so you never know sometimes where the genetics will come from. But when you have a dog that's being really nippy, just to give you the highlights, they need to be on a schedule. Like when they're in and out of crate. Crate is so crucial, not just for potty training, but for like building good leadership of like, I'm going to let you out and I'm going to work with you. And they tend to have more focused attention when you do that. So there's that aspect of it. The dog is on leash all the time. Whenever they're in crate, they have to wait. Even, I don't care if they're 8, 9, 10 weeks old, they have to wait in crate for permission to come out. You do that with the crate door. Then you put the leash on them in crate for a dog like this that's nipping and biting. So you can show them how to walk into your home and how to be in your home. Not to run to the back door and sit and wiggle for a treat to be let out to potty, and then zoomies, and then play because you think you need to get their energy out. And then you work on a little training, and then play again, and then pets, and then you put them in a playpen maybe, and then they're biting. And so we want to make sure that that's not happening, that you're on a strict protocol to help them understand what their energy should be in the home. And honestly, how you do that is they're on leash all the time, and they are with you in a way that you can tell them no couch, no biting, like no affection right now. You just need to settle, and you can really start to shape how they view you and how they view your home. When your kids come into the room, they shouldn't be able to run over there and grab onto fuzzy socks, which is like, I just had a German Shepherd that bites all the kids' fuzzy socks. And so that's why that came into my head. And it's like a 1-year-old. And they did the same thing. They were like, oh, like his biting has just never stopped. I'm like, no, because it has to be worked on. And so anyway, hopefully that gives you a few parameters to start with. And you have a treat pouch on you all the time. And so you are not using food to get good behavior, but once they calm down, come, sit, food, like you have food on you to reward them immediately. This is assuming your dog is like under 6-7 months old. Okay, I'm gonna answer one more. All right, let's see, what do I want? I know I get a lot sent in, but I just gotta be honest with you guys. If you show up, we try to prioritize the people who can show up. And so I do have a very long list of questions. Let's see. I like this one. Melanie says, how do I stop my puppies? Puppies. All right. See my first question on littermate syndrome. Even if they're not littermates, if they're multiple puppies. That was at the beginning of this live. Okay, anyway. How do I stop my puppies jumping up when they come out of their crate in the mornings? Okay, well, they should be coming out and doing everything individually, and they should be on leash. And so let's make sure that they don't come out of crate without permission. So you're using the crate door as leverage. So you do a 2-inch rule, And when they stick their little nose forward, you don't smash their nose. That's not what I'm saying. Like if they stick their nose through, be really gentle. But you want to be preventative before they get there. They're just in the forward motion. You're just going to shut it. Then you go a little further out, shut it. A little further out until they can pause. Take a breath. Then you're going to bend down and put a leash on them or harness them, which they do have to come out a little bit for harness, but then I scoot them back in. Depending, I mean, the age and breed does matter, and I didn't get age and breed, so I'm going to assume young little puppies. Then I shut the door again, and now I have the leash. Same thing, open it a little, shut it if I need to. They pause, let's go. They jump up on me, pressure immediately, kind of bump them off a little, no. Take a breath, take 2 more steps. They jump up on me, pressure, a little pressure up on the leash, move into them, like a little bump off with the knee if I need to. Relax, pause, take 2 steps. Movement causes stimulation. And make sure you're nice and calm. Like if you want them to be calm, you have to emulate calm. It's not about no, like sit, no, crate. It's not about that. It's actually about being confident, calm, cool, collected. Use your body language and your leash. Settle them down. I'm not saying don't be firm, like you should have a bit of an authoritativeness to you, but it's not about saying no or being verbal or vocal with them. And just really take your time and take them out one at a time. You're right, puppies cannot be out together and not jump up on you. They need to be worked individually. If they do have their designated like playtime and they jump up on you, that is just a no and a bump off, And if you have small dogs, keep your feet on the floor. You can still kind of bump them off a little bit just to let them know, like take it out on each other, not out on the humans around you. There's probably a lot more to it than that, but that gives you a little bit of an intro into what you can start doing at home, all right? Thank you guys so much. I tried to fly through as many questions as I could and not get too much into the weeds. But yes, I will see you same time, same place next week. Are we sure this isn't a cat? What is this?
A Frenchie.
A Frenchie. Oh, it's a French bulldog. All right. Bye, everyone. See you next week.